reporting graveyards than I can count within project management systems that just have blown up sets of data and kind of like half complete reports. And unfortunately, what that really does, is kind of erode the trust in the system, even at a fundamental level, just because they think they can't, even though they probably can trust to some degree some of the data that's being generated in there, it's just not being collected and reported upon because it's missing a tag or it's missing a this. And so just at the end of that flow, it's incomplete and not a trustworthy, representation of what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm. And I think like you're not going to call this out, but I will. We had an experience recently, right, of a client that came to us after having worked with another firm, and that firm helped them install profitability reporting inside of their project management tool, specifically inside of ClickUp, which is an incredibly capable platform. And similarly, like when we looked at it, we were like, well, theoretically, this would be awesome. However, the client was getting no value out of that reporting because their team was completely incapable of keeping all of the stuff up to date that was needed. And this report relied on globally consistent data. So if one project was out of whack, then their measure of this metric for the whole business was completely out of whack, right? So it's like the reporting system was built on a house of cards and a set of assumptions that was just not reasonable to begin with. And I think like you cannot overlook that. I can't stress enough how important that is and how many firms we see fail, not because the theoretical system wasn't feasible, but just like operationally, it was built on a bunch of assumptions that were incredibly risky and ultimately set it up for failure.
Yeah, and I think that it can't be understated the amount of friction it can also cause on the day-to-day level, just not just with the project manager who's tasked with spinning up something new every time a piece of new business comes in the door, but really just, managing the inputs, managing, anyone else who's touching that system, making sure that everything is staying intact. And it really can impact the ability to execute the work itself because someone's hung up on a specific step or a certain, where do I track this? Or how do I tell where I'm going, to isolate what I'm supposed to do? Just a level of complexity, certainly when you're trying to accomplish all that in one place in the PM tool.